YouTube. This is Scott. I wanted to talk to you today about my experience with COVID-19 and double pneumonia. Usually if you go through my video or my YouTube channel, you see me fixing my Isuzu Trooper. I still have it. I'm still working on it. I had it for sale, but I don't know. I'm not getting really any interested buyers. But I felt that my experience with COVID-19 was valuable, sort of, and that it's I feel like it's worth talking about, and I wanted to talk to the YouTube audience about what happened to me, basically. But I have some thoughts. I've done some research post-COVID when I was actually able to get up and turn on a computer and finally listen to music again. That was hearing music again for the first time in like 6 or 7 days. Like, your playlist, the music you love. That was what really caught me. Just I cried a couple times. I was like, man, this is so beautiful, these songs and stuff I've heard for a long time. Turning on the Allman Brothers for the first time and hearing Trouble No More or Whipping Post, man, that really got me. That I think that actually helped me get better more than at least help boost my mood. But I was sick for about 3 weeks. First doctor said, well, it's just bronchitis. He didn't have any COVID stuff. I got way sicker. My fever spiked. My girlfriend took me to 2 other urgent cares, and you have COVID pneumonia. Your girlfriend has COVID, but she didn't have pneumonia, and they didn't prescribe her anything. I mean, nothing. They didn't give her anything, and I didn't like that. They said, well, just keep taking your Mucinex, to her, and I felt like, if someone's sick with COVID, and COVID can look fine in the beginning stages, but it can turn and just totally wipe you out. It did me, and I wish they had prescribed her something. I wish they had at least given her the time of day. So that didn't make me too happy. I had to go to the ER 2 times. The first time they prescribed me, and of course I waited around for hours. I'm talking 3 or 4 hours the first day. The second time I waited for 4 or 5 hours. And the attitude they had was, I think they thought that I was uninsured because my bill was as uninsured. I called the hospital and corrected that, but they never told me anything like, we're sorry you're sick, we're gonna help you, don't worry, you're gonna make it. I think one doctor did say that. She said, it's gonna take you another week, but you might come out of this. The first doctor, the first day, prescribed me hydrocodone and a muscle relaxer. And my girlfriend went to the pharmacy to fill that prescription and was also buying Mucinex. And that pharmacist said, you can't mix these two. And he asked her, I think she told him, it's for my boyfriend and myself. We both had COVID. He says, you definitely don't need hydrocodone. He says, do not mix that with Mucinex. And that pharmacist was like, why would they prescribe him hydrocodone, an opiate that will slow his respiratory system down further? And they basically told her, don't give that to him. And I didn't take it. The second day I had to go in because I was doing an antibody treatment, but they didn't tell us that your blood oxygen level has to be a certain amount. We did have a pulse ox and we were measuring it, and of course I was in the very low 90s, sometimes in the 80s. I think I got as low as 86, which did not feel good. So we waited there for an hour, then they did all the blood oxygen stuff. They said, no, you got a problem, we're going to have to take you back to the ER. And I really didn't want to go. I waited there for about 4 or 5 hours, and both times I was there, I got lectures about not having the vaccine and how terrible I was for not getting the vaccine, and that I really did something terrible and stupid and horrible. And it wasn't something like, and I'm not anti-vax either. I thought that there was another vaccine coming down the line that would have been much better, that would actually fix a lot of the problems that the mRNA vaccine had. You don't hear anything about that anymore. That's the sad part. But I got these lectures. The attitude was not, this is really going to help you. Like, if you get this vaccine, this is going to completely eliminate this problem. You don't have to worry about anything. There wasn't that assurance. There wasn't that attitude of assurance that I was getting from these people. It was just, how dare you, how dare you not do as you're told? Basically, that's how I felt. And it was very threatening. It didn't feel too good. And I talked to, well, my mother had to call my doctor because at this point I was not really able to speak after I got out of the ER a second time, and they did give me a steroid and oxygen that second time. And even the nurse who gave me oxygen, another vaccine spiel again. And I was made to swear that I would get the vaccine when I got better, and I said sure. I don't think that I'm going to. Unless it's a different type of vaccine and it's the more traditional type and it actually works, then I'll think about it. But for the next week, I couldn't get out of bed. I shivered just all night, just pouring sweat. And apparently that's a characteristic of pneumonia. My girlfriend kept me alive. And then that's when I couldn't really talk. At this point I was, your lungs are this much, I was getting that much. And when I talked, it was, I don't know if I'm going to make it through the week kind of thing. Very soft. My girlfriend would just kind of, I didn't talk to her for a couple of days. It's not that I didn't want to. I would hold her hand whenever I had a chance. That's really all I could do. But I would even look at her and be like, we haven't talked in days. And she goes, I know. I says, I just haven't felt like saying anything. I can't. So my mom called my doctor, explained the situation, and she prescribed me ivermectin. And I basically told my mother in so many words, it took me a long time to say it, but I basically told her, I don't think I'm going to make it through the end of the week. I just know how I feel. I know my body. Probably a bit dramatic. Maybe I would have turned around. But I really don't know. And unfortunately, I did lose an uncle this week. His blood oxygen dropped down to 48, and he stayed in the hospital. He was in the hospital almost 2 weeks. I was from the time that I was sick, got better, started really recovering. He was in the hospital that entire time, and he didn't make it. And I hate that because I think that if he had just caught it in time, he'd been fine. And that's the sad part about it is I think he just probably let it go too long. But I have another friend who's in the hospital. He was there for 6 days. His blood oxygen dropped, low 80s. He has asthma problems, but they finally released him. He started coming back around enough to go home. His oxygen levels came back up, but they disclosed to him upon leaving that he actually had a small, they think either a blood clot, heart attack, or a mini stroke, and he's only 34 or 35 years old. So it's a rough virus. But I told my mom I didn't think I was going to make it to the end of the week. And at the time I felt like it. I hadn't slept in probably 4 or 5 nights at that point. I didn't sleep for 6 total nights. She dropped off the ivermectin. My girlfriend gave it to me. And first day, not too much change. The next day, you can't take it. You have to skip a day. And then by day 3, I took it again. By the end of the day, I was like, I feel different. I didn't feel substantially better, but I didn't feel bad. I definitely didn't feel as bad as I used to. That night, my night sweats weren't so bad. And the next day, I stood up for the first time. And then I started standing up more and more and more. And my girlfriend, she's a physical therapy assistant. She had me walking across the room. She had me, go and touch the table. And I did it. And I was so weak. It was so surprising how weak I was. I made a Facebook post when I got better, thanking everyone who prayed for me, for my girlfriend for basically saving my life, for my mom who made the call, my doctor who saved my life. And immediately I started getting a flood of texts, Facebook messages from people who, a couple of them said, we're really glad you're feeling better. A couple of them. Most of them browbeat me and bullied me and verbally were abusive towards me about not having had the vaccine and how horrible I was as a person and that I was so stupid for not doing that. and that as soon as you're better, you better go out there and take it now. You're not a doctor. None of these people are doctors. None of these people really know any more than I do. And it was very threatening. It was disheartening. I mean, I would tell my girlfriend what's going on. She had some of the same experiences. And I'm so confused over this insistent attitude. You do as you're told. And that's how it felt. It wasn't like, dude, come up with the times. Like, this stuff's really going to help you. Like, what's wrong with you? Or, not like that. It just wasn't kindness. It wasn't, this is it. Like, this is how we're going to beat this virus. And I'm sorry, but a lot of research, and I had a friend who had the vaccine. He got sick as well. There's a lot of research out there to indicate that this does not prevent you from getting COVID. It's not like a polio vaccine. It's not like a measles vaccine where it totally gets rid of the virus. This is something else. I think it's just a Band-Aid. And of course, these are my opinions. Again, I'm not anti-vax. I think vaccines are great medicine if it's made correctly. But I felt like, here in the United States, we have some of the most talented clinicians, doctors, researchers, people who've really seen what happens. People have just been, as soon as COVID happened, they got on it and they started researching. And it seems like we're totally ignoring any kind of research or anything. We just pushed this vaccine, and it quickly became a political tool. I mean, now there's vaccine passports. There's vaccine, you got to show your papers now. Like, that got strange very quickly in just a couple of months. 2020 was weird, but 2021 is even weirder. And it's got me concerned, and it makes me feel like the whole motivation to get people better is disgenuine. Or disingenuine, however you pronounce it. And I think something's up here with this. Ivermectin worked for me. I'm not saying it's going to work for everybody. And there's some evidence to indicate that it's not so great. I didn't have any problems afterward. My jaw locked up after COVID. I couldn't really talk or just slur words. And my girlfriend said it sounds like aphasia, probably because you didn't have enough oxygen going to your brain, and you have a little bit of residual after effects from that. It could have been a mini stroke. I don't know. I feel pretty good. I don't feel like I've had a mini stroke or anything like that. I mean, everything has been normal except for if I walk up a hill, I don't feel so good. But basically, just to wrap this all up, is that I think that instead of settling with just this one thing, one solution, when there are many solutions that are out there and available, I think they all deserve their proper place as far as being researched for treatment. Because I believe that ivermectin did save my life. And the vitamins that I was taking as well, I believe, helped save my life. I don't think vitamins are going to completely turn you around, because once you have COVID, it's kind of too late. I think that if you're watching this video, the next thing that you need to do after you click out of this video is get on Amazon, get elderberry syrup, get vitamin D, C, A, or A plus D, selenium, magnesium, zinc, and quercetin. It helps you absorb zinc a little bit better into your bloodstream. I also take active B12 folate for my genetic mutation. It's not anything that really disrupts my life. It can if I let it go. And I also take a probiotic for my gut health and everything else. Take those things, do some research on immune boosting kind of things. I know that you're thinking to yourself, well, I got the vaccine, I don't have to worry. It's like, no, you still do. People still catch it. And for those who are unvaxxed or cannot be vaxxed because they have health concerns, because your genes just don't work with vaccines like that, I would definitely recommend those things. Prevention is probably the best key, and trying to keep out of the public eye. Don't get in thick crowds of people. You can go outside. Sunlight has a good way of getting rid of COVID. But that's my thoughts, and I wish that the attitude about the vaccine would change. I think instead of just you do as you're told kind of attitude, it needs to be, let's really dig down deep, dive deep, what can really save lives. And once that attitude comes back, and instead of trying to oppress people and make them have to have a badge disclosing their personal medical information, once we change that rhetoric and change that attitude, I think that, Americans can come together on a single, well, maybe a set of solutions that work. And this is like, okay, this is how if you get COVID, this is how we're going to fight it. And I think the attitude in the hospitals and these doctors needs to change when they have so much at their disposal to help people with, and they're instead just lecturing you about stuff and then giving you the wrong kind of prescriptions. Good, and just saying good luck. I mean, that's what I was told. Good luck. Pfft, that's weak. That's pitiful. We're America. We're a lot better than that. We can do better than that. And I hope this helps. I know probably going to get some angry comments. I understand. I'm not saying you got to agree with me. If you want to get the vaccine, get it. But I'm just sending a warning, and I'm sending we're putting ourselves in a box. And as Americans, we don't put ourselves in boxes like that.